For more on this, let's turn to Bobby Ghosh. Bobby is a foreign affairs columnist and commentator. So, Bobby, who should really get credit for this at this point?
I think it's a big enough deal, and there's enough credit to go around. It's clear that President Trump's rhetoric had an impact, both directly on North Korea as well as on China, which in turn put more pressure on North Korea. Credit has to go to Kim Jong Un for stepping up, and obviously to the South Koreans for being open to this conversation. So I think credit goes to all the players in this stage.
So the president is continuing sort of to praise the summit, saying that things are going very well.
Yeah.
When he walks into this, what do you think he needs to keep in mind?
Well, the thing that he wants most of all, President Trump, which is denuclearization. He set the bar extremely high for himself when he's spoken about this to the American people. I think he has to recognize that without nukes, North Korea is a little country. North Korea is a country of no consequence. That regime knows that the only reason that it gets any kind of international interest, that the regime survives, is because of its nukes. So to ask or expect the North Koreans to give up their nukes altogether is like saying, stop breathing oxygen. They know they can't do without it. They know that without nukes, they are like Belarus or some other small or middling country with a struggling economy, lots of mouths to feed, and nobody would care. So I think that's what the president needs to keep in mind, that he has to manage his own expectations and the expectations of Americans.
So are you saying that getting Kim Jong Un to completely denuclearize is an absolutely unrealistic goal?
It would appear so. Consistently across the history of this regime in North Korea and that of his father, they have directed enormous resources at getting nukes. Countries, once they go through this process of testing, very rarely back down. There are one or two cases in history where that's happened with the South Koreans, most notably, and with some of the former Soviet states. But in those cases, these were countries that had other things going for them. South Korea is a large country, large economy, has plenty of things going for it. Ukraine, which gave up nukes, large economy, large agricultural economy, other mineral resources. That's not true for North Korea. North Korea has literally nothing else, thanks in part to this regime. It has nothing else going for it. So I find it very hard to imagine that they will walk away from the one thing that makes them relevant, that makes this regime important in the world.
What could the White House offer them at this point that could really make a difference for them?
Well, what they'll be looking for is two things. They'll be looking for time. They'll be looking for just the fact that there is this summit means that for the last couple of months, the White House has not been putting too much pressure on North Korea. And for some months after the summit, obviously there will be an afterglow and there will be an effort on both sides to tone down the rhetoric for a while. So they will have bought themselves some time. The other thing obviously they'll be looking for is a reduction in economic sanctions. And that it's not clear how far the president is willing to go, what sanctions he's willing to even discuss being taken off the table.
So should President Trump get some credit? The fact that President Obama told him this issue with North Korea is incredibly crucial. You've got to deal with it. Took it head on. Is having this historic summit, a president of the United States sitting down with the North Korean leader? Some people say, you don't do that.
That would be historic. The meeting of the two Korean leaders, that's not historic. That's happened a couple of times before. In 2000, 2007, nothing came of either of these meetings. I would not qualify that as a historic event unless something actually happens afterwards, that some result can be measured. But a president of the United States meeting directly with the president of North Korea, that would be historic. Yes, Trump gets credit for it. He went after this in a highly unusual way, shall we say, making up his rules as he went along, not going by the traditional diplomatic rule book, and he made it rain, and you have to give him credit for it.
When you're assessing character going into this summit, is Kim Jong Un a nut job?
No. He's not a nut job. No more than President Trump is. They actually have a lot in common, that they're very, shall we say, eccentric and unusual people. But they're very clever and they're in their own way. You don't get to be president of North Korea. You don't get to survive as president of North Korea if you're a complete nut job. It suits him to give the impression to the rest of the world that he's a nut job, as it suits President Trump. It allows him to pursue ambitions in a way that nobody can. Being unpredictable can be a useful political weapon, as we have seen in this country. The North Koreans, this family, for 3 generations, have perfected the art of being unpredictable.
So the fact that the North and South have met together, their 2 leaders have met, does that complicate things for President Trump when you're moving forward on denuclearization?
No, on the contrary, I think it helps because, first of all, it allows Trump to go into this meeting saying, I've already achieved something. I've got these 2 people to start talking together. So that'll be on his column, something that he can claim as a credit. The second credit he'll say is that I'm meeting Kim directly. That's another plus. Look, no matter what the discussion between the United States and the North Koreans, the crucial relationship, the crucial test of whether North Korea is willing to emerge from this hermit kingdom history and engage with the rest of the world depends on its relations with South Korea. That is the most important thing. The best guarantee that North Korea will not misbehave in the world is if it is more tightly engaged with South Korea. So this summit, if it leads to something, is good for everybody. It's good for the North Koreans, obviously. For the South Koreans, it's good for the rest of the world. It's good for the United States.
What about the counter, Bobby? What if this summit does not go and the president feels that it was not a success, or he doesn't feel that Kim Jong Un is really taking this seriously?
Well, he has said he'll walk away. But that would be awkward, I think. The president has invested so much political capital on this summit that it would be difficult for him, not impossible, but difficult for him to explain why he walked away. It would be difficult for him to explain why, when 2 presidents meet, decisions are not made on the spur of the moment. These decisions have been discussed behind the scenes beforehand and baked into the cake before the 2 meet. So if at the point of meeting there's a sort of parting of ways, that means the pre-summit work was not well done. That means that Pompeo didn't do his job right. And that would be awkward for the president to explain away. For the North Koreans, on the other hand, if Kim Jong Un walks away from the summit, he's got nothing to lose. He completely controls the message in his country. North Koreans won't hear anything about the summit that he doesn't want them to hear.
And it wasn't broadcast live when the 2 countries met, right?
That's exactly right. They don't do that. They're very cautious. And the other thing is, of course, Kim Jong Un can already say, look, I reached out. I literally stepped across the line to shake hands with the South Koreans. I have shown my best, I brought my best interest to play. I've shown that I genuinely want to make peace. It's the Americans who are walking away.
Bobby Ghosh.
It's difficult.
Bobby Ghosh, great to have you with us. Thanks so much, Bobby.
Anytime, Rita.